Hey, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we'll be taking a look at the iPad Pro 3rd generation, also known as the iPad Pro 11-inch 1st generation, running iPadOS 17 here in 2023. It's actually running iPadOS 17.0.1 as of the 23rd, which is today, and iPadOS 17 and iOS 17 Plus watchOS 10 were released on the 18th. So I've been running this for a few days, testing it out properly, and in this video I'll be giving you all the details such as the battery performance, the app performance, gaming performance, browser demo, and all that stuff that you need to know about running iPadOS 17 here in 2023 on a slightly older iPad. So this is running iPadOS 17 on the iPad Pro 3rd generation, also known as the iPad Pro 11-inch 1st generation here in 2023. So as always, before we jump right in, don't forget to smash that like button down below as it helps this video get on YouTube's algorithm, and also don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and ring that bell notification button so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Also, if you have any questions or comments regarding iPadOS 17 or this particular iPad in general, don't forget to leave them down in the comment section below. We can start a discussion or I can answer your questions. My social media is also linked down in the description below, which includes Instagram, Discord, and Twitter. And now let's jump right into this video. So if you want to jump to a particular section in this video, such as the battery performance or the app performance or anything like that, the video is segmented into many parts, which you can see in the segmented slider bar. So you can jump into whichever section you like. So we'll be going in order, but you can jump ahead if you'd like. So let's actually go to iPadOS 17 here, and we can take a look at all these supported devices. So let's go to iPadOS 17 here, and doing this through the viewfinder. So there we go. Scroll all the way down and we will get the iPadOS 17 compatible devices. So iPad Pro 12.9-inch 2nd generation and later. So the iPad Pro 1st generation does not get iPadOS 17, and this is the 11-inch 1st generation and later. This is the model we're talking about, aka the 3rd generation. It's a bit strange the way people call these or name these, but this is iPad Pro 11-inch 1st generation or later, or the larger size as well. This thing will probably get updates until iPadOS 19, I have a feeling, because they'll do one by one. They'll discontinue each one by one, and this will probably go up to iPadOS 19 if you were wondering, but I could be wrong. It could be one less or it could be one more. It's sometimes Apple will depending on how tests go before they run the before they release the OS, they'll run it on one of these devices, and if it's not really up to standard, they won't release it. So most likely it'll be iPadOS 19, maybe 18, or maybe even iPadOS 20. So we're not really, I'm not really sure exactly where Apple will go on that one. For example, the iPad Air 2 got about, like, I can't remember, 8 overall supported iPad, but at the time was iOS and iPadOS versions, 7 updates and 8 supported versions. So sometimes Apple gives a longer lifespan to certain iPads that can run them. So I'm not really sure exactly where until when it'll be supported, but let's say maybe iPadOS 18 at the least, or iPadOS 20 at the most, but it's most likely going to be iPadOS 19. Now, for those who want a quick answer, should you upgrade or not? Go right ahead. It's perfectly fine to upgrade because iPadOS 17.0 and 17.0.1 have not had any detrimental effects on this particular iPad, or my particular iPad, as far as I'm concerned. I've used this on the daily, and after the update I used it daily as well and did all my stuff that I had to do on it, and I couldn't tell a difference in terms of performance and battery life. I actually want to say the battery life is slightly better, but it just could be a misobservation there. But as a whole, it's perfectly fine to upgrade. There's no detrimental effects on this iPad. My one, as you can see, isn't in the best shape. When I bought it secondhand, so it came with this damage there, and it runs perfectly fine. The Apple Pencil works fine with it. Everything just works fine. Apps run fine. I've updated all the apps to the latest versions as of iPadOS 17, and I cannot tell a difference, honestly. It is perfectly usable here in 2023 on iPadOS 17. So if you wanted a quick answer, there you go. Now, in terms of battery performance, like I said, maybe a slight boost in battery. I could be wrong here, don't quote me on it, but that's just what I felt. And there's no real way to show the health of iPad batteries because Apple doesn't offer that for iPads, as far as this model is concerned at least. But mine is probably, I'd want to say, lower 90s at this point, because this was a used iPad. I can probably gauge it at this age, probably lower 90s, and it works perfectly fine. I of course run it on low power mode just to get a bit more battery out of it, but it depends on how much you use it as well. But I can say with confidence that the battery performance on iPadOS 17.0 and 17.0.1 it has not been affecting this iPad as a whole. The battery performance is exactly the same. Again, don't quote me on it, maybe a bit better. So yeah, if you wanted an answer on the battery performance, there you go. It's technically the same from iPadOS 16. It hasn't gotten worse. It hasn't gotten better as a whole. So thumbs up in terms of battery performance. Now, in terms of general performance, like I said, this thing has not been affected in any detrimental way after the update from iPadOS 16 to iPadOS 17, and I can do a small test here and show you how fast apps open and how well they're kept running in the background. Basically a test of speed and RAM management as well. As you can see, all apps have been closed in the background, so the RAM is clear, and all the apps I'll be opening have been updated to their latest versions as of the 23rd, so as to basically be updated to keep up with iPadOS 17. And let's go ahead and start off with YouTube Studio here. Opens almost instantaneously there. I did use that app quite a lot today, so I know how fast it opens, and it of course depends on your Wi-Fi, so it may vary, but still relatively fast. Books open really fast. They're perfectly fine. Let us open Freeform, grab the Apple Pencil, get that out of the way, just scribble a bit. There you go. You can also use your finger. There you go. As you saw, opens really fast. Then let us open the camera app here, take a quick photo, real fast there as well. Let's move over and open Newegg. So some third-party apps, of course, a bit on the slower side, but it has its own animations and stuff. Loads relatively fast. Walmart, of course, again with their own animations. Let's use some heavy and light apps at the same time just to keep a good balance. Open Tips, which is a really light app. There you go. Opens almost instantaneously. My Face ID on this iPad is disabled because of the crack across those sensors over there. And then what else is open? Home here. There you go. Home opens instantly. So as you can see, stuff is opening real fast. Let's open the App Store, again, instantly, depending on your Wi-Fi, just to note. And then finally, let's go to the browser here, load up Apple's website there, again, super fast. And actually, let's open Asphalt 9, which is the heaviest app I can think of. Let's cover this area because it does show a pop-up for my gamer tag there. So there you go. It opened real quick, and this game is quite heavy, relatively heavy. Of course, there are heavier games to load, but as you saw, it opened relatively quick. Let us go back now and see what's left running in the background. Let's pick something random. Freeform, still open, still running just fine. Let us now open Safari, again, still open and running just fine. Let us then open the App Store, still open, still running just fine. Asphalt 9, still open, still running just fine, as you saw there. And then let us go to Newegg, open and running just fine. And finally, let's also go to YouTube Studio. Needed a slight refresh there, you saw, but the app was still open in the background. It actually refreshed itself. That didn't have to reload itself. It just refreshed itself. So that's actually fine. So everything, as you can see, is open in the background and running just fine. So in terms of performance, as you can see, the iPad is just as it was on iPadOS 16. There have not been any detrimental effects in terms of performance on the iPad Pro 3rd generation here in 2023 on iPadOS 17.0.1. Now I'd love to do a Face ID demo to show you how Face ID works on this after the update, and I'm pretty sure it's the same, but the only issue is Face ID on my device is disabled because of this crack running through one of the sensors on top of one of the sensors, so I can't do a Face ID demo. Kind of a bummer, but hey, I'm pretty sure there's somebody's already done it on YouTube. Let us now do a browser demo here. So let's open Safari. Let us go to Apple's website first. And like I said before, Apple's website is very heavy. And there you saw it opened instantly. Again, depends on your Wi-Fi, but Apple's website is very heavy when it comes to loading stuff. Older devices will have trouble loading Apple's website, and that's because of all the animations. So the new iPad Pro M2, there you go. As you can see, real smooth with the animations, no stutter at all, buttery smooth, does that all perfectly with very smooth frames, whatever you want to call it. As you can see, in-frame videos load and run just fine. As you see, no stutter or lag, it's just running perfectly fine on Apple's website, even being this heavy. Let's just scroll around a bit on the website. Let's go to iPhone. Let's do iPhone 15. There you go. Again, smooth animations, runs just fine. Let us now go to Sony's website here. Sony's website that I found sometimes can be a bit jittery. And yeah, it takes a while to load sometimes. There you go. So a bit jittery. There you go. But once it loads, it's just fine. So yeah, some websites will still just have issues loading, not because of the iPad's fault, because it's the iPad's fault. It's just the website is not ideally made or set up or coded or whatever. But as you see, it loads and runs just fine. You can click around and all that stuff. Click whatever, loads just fine. Not as smooth as Apple's website, but still reasonably smooth. Let us also finally go to Google here. Google, and there you go, almost instantaneously loaded there. So yeah, as you can see, the browser is functioning perfectly fine on iPadOS 17.0.1. Barely any noticeable jitter or stutter, actually none at all, and no lag or frame drops or just freezes at all. And I've been using this, like I said, for a few days now, and I cannot complain at all. So big thumbs up on the browser. It has not been affected whatsoever. Alright, now for a quick game demo, and we have Asphalt 9 here, and I've used Asphalt 9 in the past because, and it's not necessarily the fact that it's the device's fault, it's just the game is a bit strange sometimes. It stutters at random, and when I mean by random, I mean really random. It's just how the game is, and I've used this as a benchmark in the past, if you remember, with iPadOS 16 and 15, I believe, as well, and we'll use it again on the same first level. And I've turned off audio, of course, due to copyright reasons, and we'll go ahead and play this. So if you do notice a bit of stutter, it's probably not from the device, it's just the way the game is, but we can also see how the game handles said stutter or jitter as the game progresses. So let's resume. There we go. This is the first level that I've always played in my benchmarks. I used to be really good at Asphalt, but that was a few years ago when I actually had time to play video games. And I know it'll tell me that, yep, hold to drift. And yeah, I'm still relatively okay at the game. You can take people out as well if you didn't already know that with Asphalt. No, it's actually smoother than I thought it was gonna be. Maybe they fixed it, so yeah, they definitely have fixed it, because usually there's a bit of stutter at this point, or right between that jump And yeah, I've noticed there was some stutter usually between that jump and landing, but yeah, this time it didn't do that. So they may have fixed it in an update, so that's good. But yeah, as you can see, it runs really smoothly, and Asphalt 9 is quite a heavy game. Not the heaviest game you can find on the App Store, but definitely up there. So you can see on iPadOS 17.0.1, this thing runs the game just fine. We can now discuss some of the new features on iPadOS 17, and I'm just going to go over the overview features, the main features as a whole. But on Apple's website, if you go here and click that PDF, all the new features, there's a ton of stuff you can go ahead and read individually. We don't have time to cover all of that in this one video. However, we'll go over the main new features with iPadOS 17, and I'm actually more happy with iPadOS 17 than iOS 17 and watchOS 10 as a whole. watchOS 10 I found a bit annoying, and getting used to it was taking a bit because of the changed button functions and stuff like that. And iOS 17 didn't really have too much in the way of new features, but iPadOS 17 I'm a bit more happy. So Lockscreen got a new set of widgets. You can personalize your lock screen, as you can see, with new widgets and calendars and all that stuff. So just like on the iPhone, as you can see, I've added a bunch of widgets here, but these don't work in portrait mode. They only work in landscape mode. So that's one downside. If you may, you can edit them using this this function, as you've of course already seen with the iPhones. You press and hold and then go and hit the plus and the whole lot. You already know that. So that's how you basically set a wallpaper on iPhones, and it's the same with this now, and you can add widgets and all that stuff. If you used an iPhone, you'd already know that. So I'm really happy about this, getting the widgets. Kind of a bummer it doesn't work on portrait mode, but on landscape mode, which is usually the way most people use their iPads, it'll work just fine. So that's one major feature that I personally love on iPadOS 17. You can personalize your lock screen with widgets and stuff like that now, and there's motion effect for live photo wallpaper as well. And interactive widgets, that's another great thing. It came for iOS 17 as well. Basically lets you play music. For example, the music widget, I'm not playing music now, but I can quickly open that, and now I actually opened a song there, and you can actually hit play or pause from there, as well as you saw it played, and of course I can play the whole song, but play pause now works from there as well. And it also works for like home. You can change the brightness of lights and stuff like that. There are probably other apps that can make use of that as well. And yeah, so that's one thing, which is interactive widgets. It's really, really nice. It's basically playing catch up to Android, because Android has had interactive widgets for years now, but at least they finally included it. So there you go. You can actually click off your reminders, change brightness settings in your living room from the home settings, all that stuff. So kind of playing catch up, but it's perfectly fine. Messages, you have a new set of features on messages, no big deal. Also that same stuff that transferred over from iOS 17. If you can't play a voice message on messages, you can actually have the operating system convert that voice message to text like that, so you can read it if you're in a meeting or something like that. You can't really play the voice message. You can actually have it read in a transcription and just convert it, basically, as you can see there. So that's a good feature to have. Stickers as well, you can make your own stickers through the device itself instead of having an external sticker maker. That's nice. You can turn any shape or character or subject into a sticker. That's pretty nice. FaceTime, you can actually record a video or audio message when someone misses your call. So sort of a little gimmick like thing, but you can reply with an audio or video message. If you use FaceTime, that's your thing. I don't really use FaceTime that much. The Health app, of course, got a bit of a boost. Health app on iPad, I don't know if I'll ever use it, but the Health app is now on iPad. The Health app comes to iPad with a design optimized for larger display, see rich details in favorites, blah, 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 blah. So it was all this time only on iPhones, but now the Health app is on the iPad. So if you have an Apple Watch and you don't have an iPhone, but you also have an iPad, there you go. I guess you can use it like that, and you can use all the other functions, of course. Medications, mental well-being, mobility, nutrition, respiratory, all that stuff. Mental health, another good feature. Maintain healthy viewing habits, protects your vision. PDFs and notes, you can now open PDFs and stuff through the Notes app, so that's good. You can straight up edit PDFs through the Notes app. That should have come years ago, but I guess they included it now. Better late than never, but yeah. You can now edit PDFs through the Note app with your Apple Pencil, etc., etc. And you can also collaborate on PDFs as well. Safari and passwords, you can now, like iOS 17 as well, make profiles on Safari. If you hand your iPad over to a friend to use, you don't want them seeing your history, you can actually create a lockable profile so that they can only use that guest profile, if you may, and not see your browsing history. And you can, of course, hide it behind fingerprint or Face ID or whatever. Autofill again has double authentication or autofill verification via email. That's good. Keyboard finishes the sentences for you. Let me quickly open messages here off camera. Let me open messages there, and let me start a new conversation here. Let's see if I can do that without showing everything. Yeah, I should be able to. Now, instead, let me see. There we go. So let's bring it down here and let's type, hey, you. There you go. So instead of hitting it at the top, they're hitting the U at the top. You can hit the space bar. You coming. Let's see. Coming to. Let's see how smart it is. I tested it the other day on iOS 17. Wasn't the smartest thing ever, but still. Are you coming to the game? Okay, so it didn't figure that out. Let's say, hey, are you at home? Okay, okay, so not that smart. Still, it'll get there, but it's still not the smartest thing ever. Let's try something a bit more complicated. Hello. How? Still, this shows up more than that feature, but how are you? Okay, so now when you, but it's okay, but it still needs a bit more refinement. So basically what you're supposed to be able to do is just go type entire sentences while the iPad guesses it for you by just smashing the space bar like that. But it doesn't seem to be working all that too well as of 17.0.1. It wasn't even working that well on iOS 17, so it definitely needs some work. Let's give it one more try. At what time will you, okay, B, that's good, B, hit the space bar, getting, come on, home. Okay, so it could have predicted home, but it didn't. Yeah, so that needs a bit of refining, but you get what it's trying to do. It's trying to create entire sentences by just hitting the space bar, but it's not there yet, so Apple needs to work on that. Freeform has some new drawing tools and work alongside your collaborators as well. If you don't know already what Freeform is, it's this. It's basically a note-taking app, collaboration, workspace app. It's one of Apple's attempts at trying to get onto the whole workspace thing. It's decent, it works fine. You can use it with your Apple Pencil, etc., etc. It is what it is. I don't really use it that much, but I mean, it's okay. There you go. You can use your finger as well. So scribble, draw, PDFs, that whole lot. Stage Manager, more flexible layouts. They've get more flexibility in moving and resizing windows. That's also gotten a bit of an update. Use an external camera for FaceTime calls. You can do that if you wish. Spotlight got an update. This thing also got an update, and I'll call it this thing because I don't want to say it out loud and have it activate all over my room through all of my devices. Instead of saying hey, hey, hey every time, you can say hey once, and you can have a string of questions being asked. You can ask it a string of questions without saying hey every time. So that's actually really nice. AirPlay got an update as well, and then AirPods, bit of an update for adaptive audio, stuff like that, nothing major. Privacy and security, sensitive content warning, communication and safety. Lockdown mode got an update as well, and of course so much more. Apple ID, home, photos, music, reminders, find my maps, airdrop was fixed really well. Between iPadOS 17 and iOS 17, they fixed airdrop really well. It functions much better. It's faster, it's more fluid, no strange waiting times out of the blue. It actually works just perfect. So yeah, that was all the new features on iPadOS 17 and the performance and all of the stuff on the third generation iPad Pro here, or first generation iPad 11-inch as they call it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you honestly did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button down below on the like button, as it helps this video get on YouTube's algorithm. And also don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and ring that bell notification button if you're notified so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Also, again, if you have any questions or comments regarding iPadOS 17 and this particular iPad, leave them down in the comment section below. We can start a discussion, or I can answer your questions. My social media is linked down in the description below, which includes Instagram, Discord, and Twitter. Thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in my next video.